This is the example video for A10 completing the square. Okay, so our first example here, n squared plus 4n minus 21. So we'll add 21 to both sides. Those cancel, so we're left with n squared plus 4n plus blank equals 21 plus blank. So now we need to take our 4, which is our b term, divide it by 2, and we get 2. So this ends up being our magic number. We'll take that 2 and we'll square it. We know 2 squared is 4, so we're going to fill in our blanks with 4s. So now if we factor the left side, we're left with n plus 2, which was our magic number, squared, equals 21 plus 4, which is 25. So now to solve for n, we'll take the square root of both sides. So we're left with n plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 25, which is 5. So if we subtract 2 from both sides, we are left with n equals negative 2 plus or minus 5. So now at this point, negative 2 plus or minus 5, we can split it up into two different situations. So we've got n equals negative 2 plus 5. We've got n equals negative 2 minus 5. So if we simplify these, n equals 3, and it also equals negative 7. So that would be our solution. Now for the second example, we will add 56 to both sides. Those cancel, so we're left with 7n squared plus 14n equals 56. So now notice that our a term is something other than 1, and we need it to be 1, so we'll divide everything by 7. So 7's cancel, we're left with n squared plus 2n plus blank equals 56 divided by 7 is 8 plus blank. So now we need to fill in our blank so we can complete the square. So we'll take 2, divide it by 2, which is 1. So 1 will be our magic number. And we'll square it so we can complete the square. So 1 squared is 1, so that's what we will fill in the blanks with. So now all factored, this becomes n plus 1, which is our magic number, equals 9. So now to solve, take the square root of both sides. We get n plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 9, which is 3. So now we subtract 1 from both sides. So we get n equals negative 1 plus or minus 3. So now we can split it up into two different situations. I'll move up here for that. N equals negative 1 plus 3, and n equals negative 1 minus 3. So if we do the quick math, n equals negative 4, and n equals positive 2. And those would be our solutions. So at this time, pause the video if you need more time. We'll move on to these two examples. All right, so first step, I'll add 41 to both sides. So 41's cancel. So I'm left with 9k squared minus 18k equals 41. So now that my constants moved over to the right side, I'll take a look at my A term. It is 9, which isn't 1, obviously, so I'll divide everything by 9. So that leaves us with k squared minus 2k plus blank equals 41 over 9 plus blank. So we're going to take our b term, which is negative 2, divide it by 2, and we get negative 1. So that will be our magic number. But in order to complete the square, we have to square this negative 1, and we get positive 1, because negative 1 squared is positive 1. So I'll fill in my blanks. So if I factor the left side here, I can use my magic number. So I have k minus 1 all squared equals 41 over 9 plus 1. So if I have 41 over 9, I'm adding 1, I need a common denominator. So 1 can be changed to 9 over 9. Add across the top and we get 50. And the bottom stays the same. So we know the right side of our equation will be 50 over 9. So we'll take the square root of both sides. So we're left with k minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 50 over the square root of 9. So at this time we'll simplify our radicals. So I'll move right up here. K minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 50 can be broken down to 2 times 25. So I'll change that to 2 times 5 times 5 over the square root of 9, which is just 3. So if I simplify this radical up here, we get k minus 1 equals plus or minus 5 square root of 2 over 3. So now I need to get rid of the 1, so I'll add 1 to both sides. So our final solution will be k equals 1 plus or minus 5 square root of 2 all over 3. Okay, so you can leave your answer like this, or you can break it up into 2 different answers. So I'll circle this one, but you could also have it like this. 1 plus 5 square root of 2 all over 3, and k equals 1 minus 5 square root of 2 over 3. And we can do that because that's all that plus or minus means down here. Okay, we have 2 different solutions. Okay, one last example. So, just like I have been doing, I'll add 2 to both sides. Twos cancel. I'm left with 3x squared plus 7x equals positive 2. So my a term is something other than 1. It is 3, so I'll divide everything by 3. So now I'm left with x squared plus 7 over 3x plus blank equals 2 over 3 plus blank. So Now I'll take my 7 over 3 and divide it by 2, which is the same thing as multiplying by a half. So I get 7 over 6, which ends up being my magic number. But in order to fill in the blanks, I need to square my magic number. So 7 over 6 squared ends up being 49 over 36. So now I can simplify. So on the left side, I can factor it using my magic number. So I have x plus 7 over 6 all squared equals, on this side, 2/3 plus 49 over 36. So I need a common denominator. So I'll do the math down here. So my common denominator will be 36, so I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 12. So I get 24 over 36 plus 49 over 36, which equals 73 over 36. Okay, so I'll write that on this side of my equal sign. And now I just take the square root to solve for x. So square root of this side, square root of that side. So I get x plus 7 over 6 equals plus or minus the square root of 73 over the square root of 36. So let's see what I can simplify. So x plus 7 over 6 equals, I know 73 is not divisible by 2, it's not divisible by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So we'll just leave it as the square root of 73. And the square root of 36 is 6. Of course, I have my plus or minus out front. So I'll subtract 7 over 6 from both sides. And I end up getting x equals negative 7 over 6 plus or minus the square root of 73 all over 6. So you can leave your answer like this, but just know that this solution represents two answers. Okay, so I'll write those over here. You could also have x equals negative 7 over 6 plus the square root of 73 over 6, or x equals negative 7 over 6 minus the square root of 73 over 6. So pause the video if you need more time. At this time, you are ready for A10 quadratic formula.